All right, I'm here in, I guess, my room with Protector 101, Street Cleaner, and then on the side we have, if you want to introduce yourselves.
Facehugger.
Facehugger and...
I'm the Encounter.
Nigel.
I'm also Nigel.
The Encounter.
I'm Nigel.
We're collectively known as the Dream Warriors.
Oh, that is true, actually.
Yeah! That is true, yeah.
How was the trip in? I heard it was hellish.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
For him.
For me.
And him.
And for him.
Mainly for him.
He gets delusional, so he told us to go straight.
Now, when they're saying him, they're talking and pointing to Protector 101.
Yeah, he told us to go straight when we had to make a left. And then he was like, no, I said make a
We're
left.
not talking about that day. We're talking about the very first day I came over here.
What? Oh, okay.
From Italy.
From Italy. We're going to move on from this.
Protector.
Yeah.
Import.
No, it was just a horrible day. I left my house, drove down an hour and a half-ish down to Medford. Then flight was delayed, and then was eventually
Your original
canceled.
flight was canceled, yeah.
No, it was originally
Are you hitting
delayed. Originally delayed, and then canceled.
But you found that it was canceled before it even was officially announced.
Yes, I did, because I heard it on a walkie-talkie,
Yeah.
or one of the things, the intercoms or whatever, one of the employees that was having that the flight was canceled officially. And the lady's like, are you sure? It's like, I'm going to the front counter right now. So I went to the front counter, and then all the signs just started blinking canceled. And actually, all the flights in that airport, Medford Airport, canceled because of the smoke, because of the fires down there.
There were fires?
No one knows about these fires.
There's fires everywhere. Yeah. And it's just the
All
smoke.
of the West Coast is on fire.
Yeah.
On the way here, on I think 95, we saw like
That's not a fire.
it was starting, man. That was a lot of smoke.
I took a video of it. Would you like to see? I could prove.
Wait, I think I drove through that. It was like almost black.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, we just got there when it just started because there was a cop that arrived on the scene, like right there.
For the fire?
Yeah,
He was riding
he
next
just
to
happened
us.
to be in that lane, and he turned on his lights and stuff. Yeah.
That's a legit fire.
See, this is what
I love
happens
this
when you don't
aspect
film
of the
right. This is what happens when you don't film right. Whose TV is that way? Why would you film that way?
I guess you could watch it in outer space in 0G pretty easily, but
There's no
just like flip the phone and just like
the sensor doesn't know what to do.
yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, and then
We got Chipotle.
we're not talking about that day.
I haven't eaten since 8, so I envy you.
That sucks, man. I had a piece of gum to start this morning.
You had the last piece of gum. That was my mom's gum.
Was it really? Well, Jesse just offered me the piece of gum.
I like how you throw Jesse under the bus.
He did. I'm telling you a fact.
Of Christmas gum. I'm used to it.
Are those layers?
It's Christmas gum, and we're in August, so I don't know how much you trust this gum. You can have that if you
It's
want.
from last Christmas too.
Yeah,
Like the
two Christmas
before.
ago.
Yeah, Christmases ago. That sounds like
Christmas.
a Christian movie.
Last Christmas, you stole my
two
heart.
Christmases ago. Or it's the war on
You
Christmas.
just wink at me.
Yes.
I'm not talking.
So before I actually get into the questions, I do have to apologize to Facehugger. I had a week to do 7 interviews. I wanted to do more, including you, so I do apologize for not having questions for you today.
That's fun.
All right.
He's like, I'm just glad I'm here and alive.
So I guess I'll start with the obvious question. How did you two meet?
How did we meet?
We played a show with James Syntax in San Diego.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
But we talked online.
No.
What year was that?
No?
That had to have been like 2013, right?
Yeah, 2014.
2014.
Yeah, I don't think, maybe we talked, but we were like friends, but like it's not like we ever like, what you thinking about?
Yeah,
you know?
we weren't sending dick pics at the
Yeah,
time.
it hadn't happened yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, since then there's been
Right.
plenty.
Especially since last night, Jesus.
That was Marco.
You might want to get that mole checked.
Melanoma. No, we played a show with our buddy James Syntax in San Diego, and yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll start with you, Protector 101, because I know a little less about your background. So before you had this project, what were some of the bands that you were in, if you can talk about those? I don't know if you're private.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of guy that just likes a little bit of everything, Mostly electronics stuff, and...
Facehugger nerds taking the photo of us.
Mostly electronic stuff, but like I used to DJ like before I started like actually making music. I played guitar a little bit, but then that like I don't know, I started getting into
that noise band you
DJing.
told us about.
Yeah, well then that's the whole thing, yeah. And then I like started finding like music, like really like harsh fucking music, like speedcore and hardcore and gabber and things like
You
that.
can't curse on this, man.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
you can curse, say whatever the fuck you want.
Fuck you, dude.
Wow. Look at
So
your hands.
yeah, and then from that turned into like actual making real music using like tracker software back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Jescola Buzz was the one that I used a lot. And,
Buzz, you use Buzz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could
Buzz.
never wrap my head around it.
Buzz
Yeah.
Because you had to like click and drag the plugins into there.
Yeah,
and stuff
you did.
and
Yeah, you had to
build
like
things.
wire it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a certain
Wow,
way. Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
show me
Route
how to
it.
use that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still going to this day.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
It's crazy. Yeah, the Buzz
Just-
community is like.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, but yeah, and then so a little bit of everything as far as music, and like I grew up in like the grunge days, like Nirvana and like Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. So I was like really into them a lot too. Then there's metal, black metal, death metal, Mayhem. Origin was I really liked them a lot. So just a little bit of everything.
And then Mr. Cleaner, I know a little bit about your background. You'll have to forgive me. I don't know what this is exactly, but you were in the impulse tracker, fast tracker, gabber scene as you described it.
Yeah, you found that. Yeah, no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. In the earlier days of writing music solely on a computer, like for us like not rich kids, there was trackers that when I say us, I'm talking about like me. Like there were trackers that they were freeware, but they were DOS based trackers, and they were I think built off of like the mod file structure for like Amiga and stuff like that. And so yeah, it was really barbaric and archaic on how you would build everything, and that got me into the hardcore stuff, and because at the time that's what a lot of people used it for.
Yeah, they did.
And
Just
so
throw some distortion on it.
yeah, just get you any type of kick and just distort the hell out of it and just movie sample, and then like that's so I did that for a while, and I got I started kind of making like a little bit of progress with that, but then I don't know, yeah, and then I did that. I got really into chiptunes after that and did chiptunes for a while, and kind of I've always been creating stuff. But I didn't start Street Cleaner until about 2012.
Protector, your name and your helmet that you have comes from the '86 movie Chopping Mall. Do you remember when you first came across it, and why exactly did you want to integrate that into your act?
The first time I saw it was with my mom, and I was probably like maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
My mom and my dad like let me watch like horror movies. They didn't care, but for some reason like they didn't like they were really like.
Here, son, here's last house on the left. Don't stay up too late.
Here's irreversible.
Yeah, here's irreversible. On the back.
Here's a Serbian film.
Here's a guinea pig.
Yeah.
No, and that's like so. I was really young when I first saw it, and I don't know. Like I had 3 names when I was when I was trying to come up with a name because I had no idea what I was doing. I heard similar type of music like synthwave or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Auto 9 was RoboCop's
Pistol, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And the other one was Power Pill, which because I was a huge Pit Fighter fan.
Oh,
and
well,
we
we're
picked
gonna
up the
go
Power
toe to
Pill.
toe on Pit Fighter knowledge here in a minute.
I hope so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, don't
but-
say anything because Nigel knows what I'm gonna say.
Okay,
Yeah, they have
but
it
Pit, but Power Pill was already taken by Richard D. James.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He had
definitely,
a side
definitely.
project.
Yep.
Yeah, which was
Eat them up,
Aphex
them
Twin.
down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Stupid Aphex Twin.
So within those 3, I just kind of went with Protector 101 because I don't know, reminded me of like good times with my mom and horror movies, and that movie's just like so cheesy, and I just love the concept behind it. So
When I first saw Protector 101, I thought it said Protector LOL.
that is another project.
Well,
I legit thought it said LOL. I thought your name was Protector, and you were just like, oh, I'm Protector LOL. Like, you're just casually laughing. Like, oh, my name's Nigel LOL,
Weird.
the 101 actually looks like an ASCII emoji of a guy drowning. Like, oh,
I can see that.
Did you
Yeah.
drowning?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Drowning.
It's drowning.
Drowning.
Drowned. I don't know about drowning.
Yeah, drowning is weird.
That's permanently on a...
There's a guy drowning. You don't say drowning.
I'm gonna go get my drowning pool.
So I can throw you guys in it.
Yeah.
So you can drown in.
Help me, I'm drowning.
If I heard that, I wouldn't
And
say
Nigel would not save you. He would say, say it correctly. I learned it at the library.
No. Anyway.
Mr. Cleaner, I know that you were, just before you started this project, you did the soundtrack for a game called Aeternum by Brooks Bishop. How did you get involved with that?
I met Brooks at a party a long time ago, a LAN party, and he was an indie game developer, and we just kind of hit it off, and we shared the same last name, so it was kind of funny because there wasn't a whole lot of...
I thought you were brothers when I was
Everybody
researching
does. It's either brothers or husband and wife, and I always wonder, the husband and wife, I'm like, which one of us is the woman? It could be Jesse, it could be Brooks, who knows, you know, like...
Jesse Brooks.
Yeah, and it's Garth's brother. So no, and then so he was was working on a whole lot of different video game projects and stuff, and so we developed this thing that we call mutual mooching, which is like he's done every single visual aspect of Street Cleaner. So he's done all the album artworks, and he's helped me with videos and that kind of stuff, and I write music for his video games. And so it's just kind of, we're good friends, we hang out all the time, and he comes to lots of shows. You guys have all met him, Brooks?
I've never met him, I've seen him.
I've been to the Brooks Institute.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I live by a brook.
Oh. Yeah, so that was a really neat project. We didn't realize, I guess I didn't realize that game was going to end up, kind of going where it did, and it got a lot more notoriety than I kind of expected. It was this guy did all the art, and he programmed the whole game. He wrote the software that he used to make the game, so that he didn't use any off-the-shelf engines or anything, and it was really cool. And then, but at the same time, I would love to be this soundtrack by Street Cleaner, but it sounds absolutely nothing like anything Street Cleaner related.
And wasn't he the one that kind of pushed you to finally do Street Cleaner? Because wasn't your debut a soundtrack that you'd kind of been...
Well, yeah,
up in your head?
so to work on the music for that game, we developed this, we came up with this process where we had two desks that were in the same room, and we were working back to back. So while I'm working on music stuff, he's dialing in whatever his side of programming or art assets or whatever, doing his thing. And so I'd go to his house 2 days a week, and we would do this, and so of course we were going to shoot the shit and stuff, and I was like, games are fun and all, but I'd really love to score a movie. That'd be really cool to score a movie. And he's just like, then do it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's easy. Hey, movie, kind of thing. He's like, no, just do it. Just write the music to a movie that just do it, And I was like, that's neat. And I'd always toyed around with the Street Cleaner idea in my head, kind of, and I decided to so the first Street Cleaner album wasn't the artist Street Cleaner. It was just the soundtrack to the movie Street Cleaner. And then, and so that's how that came about, and it just kept on going.
So you mentioned RoboCop, and I know that you're a big fan because you did the Prime Directives EP, and you recently got tapped to work with the RoboDoc.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Jesse, come on, man.
I just broke my phone.
I hope you
say
got
something.
You said RoboDoc.
It's an ongoing joke that, whatever
Jake gets
Jesse
special
says,
privileges because he's on the RoboDoc.
Yeah. And Jesse goes, well, I did this. I'm like, well, that's good, but I'm on the RoboDoc.
I just released an album. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm on the RoboDoc.
Yeah, what was that? Game just came out yesterday that I have music in, and I was like, guys, check this out. Oh, that's neat and all, but it's not RoboDoc.
Hypergun, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you get involved with that project?
I think it was, if I remember right, Basil. He's the artist at Blood and Chrome. That's what he goes by. Him and I kind of worked together before in the past. He actually did the P101 logo. Again, I think this happened a while ago because the RoboDoc's been in the works for a really long time.
Still not out?
No, it's still not out. They were supposed to be out last year.
Clips of it are out. I watched some new clips.
Yeah,
with,
I know they were trying really hard to get a hold of Peter Weller.
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and
so there was only a voice on the trailer over the phone for some reason.
Oh, is that what it was? That's
don't
hilarious.
call me. Yeah, don't call me.
But they called him Dr. Weller.
Yeah, Dr. Weller.
Well, yeah, isn't he in outer space with Star Trek? Right?
Outer space?
Yeah, that was years ago.
Isn't he doing Star Trek?
No, he died in that movie, didn't he? Or
I don't know. Wasn't he the bad guy?
Stop.
He became RoboCop in Star Trek. They brought him back. And he's all God.
Freeze! You will be assimilated.
There will be trouble.
Phaser set to stun.
Earl Grey, hot.
Dude, I'd watch that crossover.
Jeez, that's so true.
So I think, so anyways, Basil actually started working with Robodog people because I think they found Basil. And they really liked his artwork and because he does amazing, like, video, good. Like, he's, like, one of the best in the scene,
He's really
I'd
good.
say.
Yeah. I think he's the best.
Yeah, if not the best. And, and I don't know if they got in touch with him saying, hey, we're looking for music, do you know anybody? And I think maybe Basil said, hey, check out this guy. He actually came out with the Prime Directives EP, you know, so he's a guy that really enjoys RoboCop, so, and then they hit me up with an email, so, and they asked, hey, do you want to get back at Jesse, aka Street Cleaner, for the rest of his life? I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take it. I'll take that.
They're like, do you want to be on the Robodog? And I said, yeah.
Yes.
So, Mr.
What's up?
Mr. Cleaner. Obviously, you were in chiptune. I wanted to touch on that again. I read a quote somewhere where you said that one of the reasons why you admire it so much is because of the limitations that a lot of composers like Yuzo Koshiro and Norio Hanzawa had when doing soundtracks for like Streets of Rage and Gunstar Heroes. For any of your releases, have you tried putting any restrictions on yourself to push yourself creatively?
Oh yeah, I always go in telling myself, all right, this time I'm gonna stick to these minimums, to this. Okay, so simple, keep it simple, right? You know, and then I always break my own rules because but I need to do this and this and this. But like in those early trackers and stuff, like it's nuts to see what some people could do with 4 channels, and then when you see things like you know, some of those early video game like composers and stuff, people that were writing music for like NES and stuff like that, they were like, was it Tim Fallon was literally writing music for NES in a notepad type program, you know, writing the parameters in that way, you know, and then executing it and see how it sounded and making adjustments and stuff, and that's insane, you know. But yeah, that's great. I would love to do that for myself, but I don't have the self-control, you know. That whole limitation thing has been broken at this point, so I can't really, it's hard to go back and keep myself limited.
So, Protector, you've also done, in addition to your solo stuff, 2 collab records with your friend Perturbator with the Split album and then the 80s Slasher EP. He's gone on record by saying that you were the first friend that he ever made in the scene. Do you remember what it was exactly that made you want to get in touch with him in the first place?
From what I can recall, because this is back 2000.
To let him know you're in the Robodog.
Went back in time to let him know.
Yeah, I was like, Perturbator, you can have all the success, but I get Robodog, sorry. No,
that's exactly how it went.
from what I remember, it was SoundCloud, when SoundCloud was good back in the days, and he had contacted me with a message.
When was SoundCloud ever good? I guess, it was 2010s, like that era.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. When it had comments on the app. Before you had to, like, download three different apps
to comment.
Just to, like... I had to download, like, 3 apps just to like a song.
Right?
But go on, I'm sorry. I'm just a little tirade there. But.
He had contacted me via SoundCloud and saying how he liked my music, and he was really nice, and him and I just started chatting back and forth on SoundCloud, and he's like, hey, I hope it's okay, I made like a chiptune of a couple of your tracks. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I know one of them was my track Nuke, but I can't remember what the other one was, and it was like really cool.
Fighting Spirit?
Know? No, it wasn't Fighting Spirit. No, stop bringing that up.
Sorry, I like it.
And so, yeah, and then him and I just started talking, and then Michael Brun, also a French guy, he goes by Lurvite. I'm probably messing that up, but him and James Perturbator and I, you know, back in the day, we just, you know, just be nonstop messaging, just, you know, jokes, stupid stuff, talking online, and then we ended up like creating Aphasia Records. I should say Michael did, because he's like the owner of it, and then that became bigger with a lot of the artists that were on there. Arcade High was on there, Vector Hold was on there.
My boy.
Yeah, Dynatron was on there. A lot of like the original dudes were on Aphasia Records. So, and it's just kind of interesting how people went in their own direction.
Was Kavinsky on there?
Kavinsky turned it down. Yeah.
Good
He was
old
too upset that I was on Robodoc. So,
See, this is
See what
why. This
happens
is
when you
why
mention
you had to
Robodoc?
bring it up. And you started this.
Yeah. He's gonna just keep throwing in Robodog.
yeah.
Oh, great set, Jesse. But I'm in the Robodog.
Yeah, right. I want to feel good about something at some point in time in my life, Jake.
I'm just
That
gonna
would be nice.
when you're playing, I'm just gonna hold a sign and say, "I'm in Robodoc."
Yeah, right. And on the back it says, "But you're doing great."
And it's great. I finally met him like I think last year. I was able to open for him in New York and Boston.
You only met him last year.
Yeah, in person.
You took that show away from me too. I
Did I?
remember. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that.
Remember I asked you?
What?
Do you know the booking guy for Perturbator and LPR? You're like,
I was
"Oh,
already
yeah."
booked with them.
Don't. You have Robodog. You have
You're
Perturbator
salty,
shows?
Nigel.
Yeah.
Jesse, I also understand that another driving force behind getting you to finally undertake this project was Matt Creamer's song Brassy Synth, which was like the foundation for another song of yours, The Wet Look, from your debut. What is about that song?
We were just talking about this yesterday.
Are you like friends with Matt, or did you just come across it? Like what?
Oh
what's the
yeah,
story
no.
behind it?
I've known Matt since I think it was 2005. I met Matt, and we were on a bulletin board thing together, amongst a lot of other people in the video game arrangement community and stuff like that. You know, it was the Shiz. It was the Shiz.org. I think in like 2012, he put out like this, like not put out, he just uploaded this thing under the Shiz. There's like, hey, here's a few tracks that I was working on. I was working in Cubase or something like that, and he wrote this thing called Brassy Synth, and it was really, really cool. And I already, at the time, was working on a thing that I called Monster Truck Music. Because, like, I mean, this is going to take an hour if I go through everything, but, so
Got time.
I didn't know what synthwave was called. I didn't know that it was actually a thing that had a name. Like, I was wondering why this genre of music only existed in this short time frame in cinema and stuff. And I called it Monster Truck Music because it was on all of those old 80s Monster Truck VHS tapes. You put in those Monster Truck VHS tapes, like the Monster Truck Rally, 1990 or
Sunday,
1984
Sunday.
Monster Truck Rally, and it'd just be this like, I'm like, this is fucking dope. Where is this shit? Why doesn't this exist now? Like, what the fuck, So I started going and like buying the tapes on eBay just so I could rip the music from them. And I was like uploading them onto like YouTube and stuff, like, and trying to like just get the song because I couldn't find the isolated music. So I had like a lot of times I had like an announcer like, coming into this side we have Bigfoot, ladies and gentlemen, and in the background it's like yo, like I had a sample of some guy going yeah, it's like this is okay, cool. And so that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, I'm gonna do this thing.
This is where we're going.
Can you just take that and sample it?
You want to pitch it up? Yeah.
This is
You
as
know-
long as I've ever been around you without you making those sound effects.
Right, it's hard.
Yeah. You struggle, I know.
Yeah, it's really hard. I get in trouble at work from that.
That's what
So
she
like,
said.
so like, I
Jason
was
Robotov.
doing this thing, this whatever, and that was the same time that I was working on Eternum, and so like those two kind of ideas meshed. So I started taking the Monster Truck Music thing, and then the Street Cleaner thing, and then like that's where I went with it. But and then when Matt like was like, hey, here's some stuff I was working on, and I was like, dude, are you gonna do anything with this? And he's just like, no. I'm like, I'm like, okay, dude, do you mind like if I continue it? If like let's make a song out of it, And so he sent me the stems for it and stuff, and then I from there tried to develop it into a full longer song. Then Viking Guitar, who another video game composer, he came in and did a guitar solo on it, and it was neat, and it was just like a neat track. It didn't sound like any of the other tracks on the album, but yeah, it's the Wet Look, and then Absolute Valentine did a remix of it, which was pretty cool.
Don't ask how I came across this, but didn't you license it to like a news station?
Oh, it was on
for
TV,
weather-
yeah. So the same way that one of his songs was on local San Diego news.
That guy still owes me money.
Right? Yeah. That guy James, man, Syntax.
That guy James Man.
That guy James Man.
Man.
Man, that man James Man. He at the time was a videographer editor for a local news station in San Diego, and he would throw us in there from time to time.
And they just let him get away with it.
Well,
They
that's
weren't
the
like,
thing.
"Why are you using this music for how to stay cool in the summer?"
Yeah, that was mine. I think yours was on Traffic. Was it Traffic or something?
It was about robots.
It was about robots.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so he used I don't know if he used another one of mine for Traffic, but he was like working on it. I don't know. Anyways, so like it was just a thing. So he's sitting there editing, and he's just like, listening to whatever at the time, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you turn on your TV, go to channel 8 around 6 o'clock, And I'm like, "Oh, cool, what's going on?" And it's like, "How to stay cool in the summer." Doon 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 doon. I'm like, "That's my song, Mom! Mom, get out of here, Mom!" Big ups to James Mann, Syntax.
Yeah, still owe me royalties.
Protector, in regards to your album Neon Collie, you wrote that you had held off on releasing it for some time because it went against the style you ultimately chose to follow. Have there been any other works that you had or currently have under lock and key for similar reasons?
Yeah, my new album that isn't out yet, that will finally, hopefully, be out this October.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
It's been like 4 years.
Seriously, it feels that way. Yeah, there's been so many alterations to this new album. It's just, it's almost like hysterical. It's like comical, really. Yeah. So as far as like the new album, it's gone through a lot of alterations and changes, and it's finally, after all that mess, like one of the tracks is actually like 3 years old, and I've just like updated it and changed it, and finally got it to the point where I like what it sounds. So I'm hoping after all this time, people enjoy the album. So, and then now it's like another thing that's pushing it is just getting because it's coming out on vinyl, and just keep having delays with all that stuff. But it sounds like pre-orders is looking like around with the digital and vinyl for this October. So.
Do you have a name for it, or can you not say that yet?
I'm gonna kind of hold off on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did the idea for the helmet and it's called the Manhandler bat, right?
Oh yeah.
How'd you come up with the concept for that helmet?
The bat was, I was at a swap meet and I saw this bat that was like bigger than it should be. Like, who uses a bat this big? And it's like a real like fight whatever. That's the PHITE or whatever. The name of the brand that makes baseball bats.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh, I need this, But then the helmet didn't come around until more recently, about last December. Like, because I didn't, when we went on our tour thing, I was helmetless.
I remember distinctly telling you should bring the bat on stage.
Yeah. And so I don't know. So I, after playing enough shows and stuff, I had plenty enough people that I really take I welcome criticism and anything that can help me improve. And a lot of people's like, hey, like one person in particular said people came to see the Street Cleaner, and they saw you.
Jesse.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that as positive as possible. So what can I do to bring the Street Cleaner on stage versus, hey, I'm the guy that writes the music, so how could I bring the Street Cleaner up? And I'll be completely honest, Jake here was one of those people that brought the character on stage. And I was also dealing with a lot of stage fright and stuff like that. I didn't want to necessarily go helmet at first. I was looking through a bunch of different options on what should the visuals look like of the new, as Brooks would say, the Zack Snyder version of Street Cleaner. So Street Cleaner is always this grizzled cop kind of guy that doesn't shave and bathe or whatever, And then
knuckle pants.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then so he's like, so you want to Zack Snyder it out, and so we just worked on it for a while, and then the helmet thing was basically a kind of a last minute thing that I I just pulled the trigger on buying this helmet, and I don't want to go through the whole story about where it came from and all that stuff, but it's neat and I like it.
Didn't you go through a phase where you just wore a hoodie?
Yeah, of course, because Albert did it, and
I want to be like Albert.
I want to be like Albert.
I remember the first time I saw you play, you had headphones on.
I did.
And Nigel walks by and calls you a nerd.
And so I threw him down or something, yeah.
Going back to Neon Collie for a sec, there was a song on there called Summer Heat Los Angeles, and you said it was based off of the case for Richard Ramirez. What about his case out of all the other killers made you want to make a track about him?
I think it was because it was kind of, it was in the 80s of that whole thing, and something about downtown LA just something in the 80s was so seedy and just like grimy.
Wasn't that the Night Stalker guy?
It was.
Yeah.
He had like a pentagram on his hand or something, right? Palm, whatever.
Yeah. I wanted to make a song kind of like about a serial killer, I guess. I mean, there wasn't really much about it. I mean, it just sounded like, and I was trying to find, like, when I did the music video for it, you know, I was like trying to find footage of like him and things like that, but I just couldn't find it. And then I ended up just working with Falling Down movie clips. Yeah, it just, I mean, there wasn't really much to it, but like, I always found his case interesting.
Didn't he go after like a lot of elderly women? Wasn't that it?
Yeah, I think he started with that. And then he started going with younger ones too. Like he kind of did. I always remember like reading on him, and there was a certain thing like what he would do, like driving a car. He would always have a bumper sticker of an American flag on it because he felt like cops wouldn't pull over someone with an American flag bumper sticker. So it just that was like kind of his train of thought, you know, like things like that. Because like I think like the first or two victims like he never killed them. Like he was scared. He couldn't do anything. You know?
What did he do? Jump out of the bushes and go like?
No, he would
Gotcha.
go into their houses at night.
Oh.
And then they would fight back, and I guess he wasn't expecting that, or he didn't know how far he could go. You know, so he was like testing himself.
Wow.
Yeah, until it got to the point of like the third person or fourth person or whatever, where he actually did it. And then how like they caught him, you know, it was just crazy too. It was like I think he was in a grocery store buying something, and then someone's like, "Oh my God, that's him! That's him!"
Not the American flag.
Yeah, and they're like, and then he's like, and then he just like he starts running out of the grocery store, and everybody's like trying to tackle him.
Really?
Yeah, and like downtown
Was
LA.
he stealing watermelons?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't that guy.
He wasn't that guy.
Sick callback, bro.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
As a quick digression for you, Jesse, I heard that when you need a bit of inspiration, your go-to is Bernard Herrmann's soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh yeah, Vertigo.
Vertigo?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this.
Nerd.
Oh yeah, anything by Bernard Herrmann in his like people are gonna hate this except for his later stuff, which got like saxophony and you know, it's like what the hell is that's not.
I feel like at this point my generation has just turned the saxophone into a meme
Yeah.
instrument, and
Yeah.
I apologize on behalf of everyone.
It's all Lost Boys.
Oh.
Like Saxophone Man.
Yeah.
Saxophone, yeah.
That's all I think.
Tim Capello.
Tim
Bernard Herrmann is awesome, and so many people that we look upon. What's that fucking guy with the Z in his name that scores everything, including video games?
Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, Hans Zimmer and
Martin Scores.
scores. No, and Danny Elfman and stuff. You know, people are like, you know, oh, those guys are great. It's like, you know, like, and they will straight up admit, like, oh yeah, we're just doing our best Bernard Herrmann impersonation. It's hard to find deep cuts and stuff, like, you know, real stuff, because you go on Spotify, it's just gonna be like, you know, oh, here's the theme song from Psycho, and you know, here's this movie that was used in Kill Bill. You know, it's just like that's not Bernard Herrmann's like, you know, meat. You know, the really good stuff. Like you get in there and just listen to Vertigo from beginning to end, and it's so good, so good.
So you've been able to do a number of soundtracks over the years, but two of your more recent ones were kind of a step into new territory with To Live and Die in LS, Volume 1, and Kingdom City Drowning the Champion, which were for a machinima and a virtual reality movie, respectively. When comparing that to the soundtracks that you did for Killer Campout and the Newt Wallen scores that you did over the years, were there any new challenges or obstacles that came with that?
I'd say probably like learning new instruments and the composing aspect of these new instruments, because like the later two were more cinematic. I'm looking for a more expansive, bigger sound. The Newt Wallen ones, although it was great to work with, but it's something that I have already worked with. I've already used those instruments. I knew how to use them. I've always wanted to work with more cinematic aspect on things, and so this was like a chance to do it. And Kingdom City Drowning was like you're in the game or whatever, you're in the movie because it's VR. So that to me, like I'm like, man, I have to make this really expansive, and everything was expansive in it too. You know, you're in this underground prison, and things are dark, and like things are looming over you because you know, you don't even know how far down in the ground, you know, you are in this world. So, and then like To Live and Die in LS, that was just like so cool. It was like my chance to like do 80s mixed with like Heat, Michael Mann's Heat. That was a really fun one to work. They're all fun to work with, but they're just different, you know, because learning those new cinematic and those new like instruments like was really cool to do. Like I've had them like for so many years. I just never been able to really like use them for a reason.
Albert and I are gonna head out. We gotta get ready for the set. So yeah, I didn't want to interrupt Jake's boring ass story.
So now
GTA.
those guys are gone.
Now the party starts.
On another side note, I saw that your character was featured in, what is it, an adventure RPG called Danger Town Beatdown. How the fuck did that happen?
That was really, really cool. I got hit up a while ago about this game, and it's an adventure game that is made by Jared Sorensen's company. He got artwork for the game done by Ariel ZB. He is my character, Jack Slade, and kind of like a loosely based off the Slade story, and made a action adventure game out of it.
Is he still making those, or?
Parsley Games, I think it's called. Parley Games released like a bunch of games at once, like in like a collection, and so I think it's all published, it's all done.
Okay.
You know, but it's out there.
The songs off of your album Dream were originally intended for the Netflix revival of Ultron, but I know that ultimately fell through. So if there was another revival series, any of your choosing, and they wanted you to do the soundtrack, is there any in mind that you would want to do?
Wow.
That's a good one.
A series. I don't know about series.
I mean, go-to is Transformers, I would assume, but maybe you want to be a little bit more off the wall with your decision.
I would.
Wait, so pick a movie to do the soundtrack to?
Well, he's saying series.
A
though.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like.
So you couldn't be like a Pieces remake or something like Pieces.
I don't know. That's one of those things I don't know if I'd touch.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
if
so
I would
good.
either.
You know, it's because I mean, I would think like. See, the only thing that's coming to mind is like movies, like Surf Nazis Must Die.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer.
It's like it's one of those things where like the movie's like garbage basically.
Oh yeah, I've seen the clips of it.
But the soundtrack is so fucking good. I think John McCallum, I think is his name, and he's just like it's one of my favorite soundtracks like ever. You know, within that time frame of movies. But a series? I don't know. I mean, I guess you could like try to reboot like RoboCop cartoon.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Because like that was actually kind of cool, you know, even though it was still kind of cheesy, but like it was cool like the direction that they took some of the RoboCop episodes. Like it kind of reminds me of like Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, where the actual cartoon is actually the real Ghostbusters. Like the movies that we saw, those are portrayed. They're a portrayal of the cartoon. There's actually an episode of the real Ghostbusters where they go to the movies to watch them, and it's Ghostbusters, the movie on the screen, and they're making fun of them, and like Ray's character is like, this guy doesn't even sound like him.
This guy because Lorenzo Music.
Yeah. So it's just it's a really cool twist.
That's my wheelhouse, bro.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just a really cool twist how they did that, you know. So, but I think that's where I'm gonna have to leave it there because I mean I had to think about that.
No worries. Why have you not made more of Miami Set Dream Drive Night Compilation Extreme?
I don't know. I know. We were actually talking. This is so weird because we were talking about this last night too. I don't know. I haven't talked to John in a long time. John Muscle, aka Grooveworthy. Him and I were basically the ones that started that whole thing, and it was just like it was a time where like there was a very few synthwave people, and they were all really close knit. Really, you know, it was easy to get a hold of someone. Nobody was busy, you know, all the time, and I had drawn this horrible photo, like MS Paint photo of
Steven Tyler?
No,
Steve Perry.
Steve Perry. And he was like, oh my god, that's so funny, let me add to that. And so he put like a grid on it, and then I added something else like palm trees, and you know, and then like, wouldn't it be funny if we all like got a compilation and just like made horrible shitty synthwave music, like making fun of of all the cliches in it. And this was back in like, I don't know, 2013, you know, like old stuff, you know, within the scene at least. And and we started getting people on board a bunch of artists. Miami Nights was on board, 1984. He was on board, so, and it just like, I think we ended up getting all submissions like within 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah. It just, because it was just like,
just mash keys.
Yeah, and that
for
was
8 minutes.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. Like my track, like the notes aren't even in time. They're all off. It's like horrible. Like there's no production value whatsoever. And so some people like, for me, and I think Jesse kind of agreed with me. Like some of it was a little bit too high quality, like the sounds that they use. And you're like, okay, you're trying too much for what this is. And then we came out with it. It was a success. No. And then we came out with Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. I could take 15 minutes of my day and make a track for it. You know what I mean? But I think where the scene is now is not where it was before. It's different. I think a lot of people, like, there's times to be serious, but there's times to be goofy too. For me, in my life, I have to have those goofy moments. I can't take myself seriously all the time because then I don't want to be that person. So you have to be able to make fun of yourself. It keeps you in check, of like who you are as a person. And I think, I don't know, I think it helped me out, I guess. And I think a lot of people that are in the scene that are becoming new artists, they are not in that mindset. A lot of things have changed since then with just the internet and the world. And a lot of things are clickbait. A lot of things are going off how many likes you have, how many shares. Like, it's not about like the music itself and who you are.
It's about popularity and maintaining that cool edge above all else and not being yourself, is what you're saying.
It gets really, really interesting when people or have known or that kind of stuff like kind of start buying into that and it's like dropping likes. Oh man, my likes on this and like this, that, and the other and kind of trying to use that for leverage and stuff. Like in that kind of climate, people would try to make comparisons as to were they referencing me, and what we could all have fun and laugh at ourselves.
And I've already got those emails about those volumes.
And it's just like no one was pointing at anybody ever at any point in time. Mm-hmm. Like it was just that's all. Hey, this is funny.
Yeah.
I was in a joke. I started a joke metal band at one point in time. We were calling the Kelsey Grammars. Just because it's funny. Like Kelsey Grammer metal.
Right.
Like.
I mean, if you look through the titles of those, they're all like Miami Sunset, 1980 something. There's always a number of 80 something.
So you mean Miami Nights was on there?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
But he was on there.
Yeah, I know, and that's the whole thing. But like, so many people like, I don't know if you want to say copied, but just like took his Miami Nights 1984. And I'm not even saying that he started that whole thing, but like, there's no denying it that people took that and put like 82, 86, 89. Going through all the numbers. It's like. Man, if like generic name number 5, it's just I don't understand. It's like if you're gonna take time to do something like in your life, like make sure it means something to you, man. Because what's the point? That's why would you want to like? There's inspiration and then there's copying someone, and I think there's too much of the copying rather than the inspiration. And I try to stay out of the most I can. I really do because it's all drama and it doesn't mean anything. Because like I see from where I am, I see a lot of drama in the scene.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it's like, and it's not like big things. It's
well, I can't imagine it's anything catastrophic. It's just egos, after all. I would assume.
It's basically comes down to that. It's like metal scene. Metal scene is like on a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like
that metal scene, I think takes the ego to the next level. But
yeah.
So I started a couple of years after you did, and so when I started meeting people in 2013, and I started, like realizing that there's more people out here, and there's a name for monster truck music, and that kind of thing, and what the stuff is. I didn't encounter any egos back then.
No.
And it was just this really like this is cool. Like let's do this, or where did you do that? How do you do that? Blah blah blah. And it was really cool. And it was just like. And that's how it was. I want to say for years.
It was.
And
yeah.
And it's just like it's so weird that it's now this.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be toxic, but it can be toxic at times. And the simple act of like being like, okay, you know what? I have nothing against you. You're totally cool, but like I gotta not You know, like, I've got to not be friends here. Like, I'm just going to...
protect your image.
You know, I'm not protecting my image so much as I don't need that toxicness in my life.
Oh, okay. You're
You know?
saying that to them
To
because
them,
they're being
yeah.
negative. Okay.
Not to you. I was just speaking to, like, you know, and like to them, I just need to kind of protect myself from that drama. And even that's like a sign of aggression now. And people are like, you know, what did you do when you removed me from your friends? It's like, I shouldn't have to write a novel. You know what you did, and you know why we're not homies anymore. I'm like, you're still cool. I'd still like to play shows with you and stuff, but I just don't want to read your posts anymore, and I don't want to hear what you have to say about that guy. I don't want to hear what you have to say about this person.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to say about like people that just like are done with social media.
Yeah,
and they just had it, you know, and I can see why people do that. I think I'm somewhat lucky that I've found a mixture of like not accepting people as friends, you know, on Facebook, or like somehow managing to dodge these situations, you know, because I always hear them in the back end. I'm like, oh, geez, so that's good to know. So I don't even know how we got on that subject, but we were talking about the Miami Nights thing. So like, I would find that to be hard to see that come back now, because I don't think it would be. It might be acceptable, or not even. I don't know if I want to use that word, but like, I don't think it would just like. It would just be lost in the wind. Like nobody would care, kind of a thing. Yeah, or like you would have artists that are like, I'm not doing that. Like, what's the reason? You know, I'm like, well, it's just I don't know. And I'm not even saying like it's like, if you do this, you will find enlightenment. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that at all. But it's just like you get. I think right now in the world, it's just like, why would I bother with the time to do something silly like that? So, and for me, I'm glad I haven't lost that. You know.
So you brought it up earlier. You had a Hypergun soundtrack that you did work on that just came out yesterday.
Yeah, the 23rd.
Yeah. How did you get involved with that? Is that same group of people, or is that different?
No, that was through. No, I got contacted by Boss Battle Records, who was brought on to the project to handle music licensing and stuff like that. So I guess I don't know how it worked there, but somebody on either the development team or production team liked one of my existing tracks, and so they approached me through Boss Battle Records and licensed it there. And I think my song is one of the later levels. I think there's like 10 levels in the game or something like that, and mine's like one of the boss fights, I believe. Yeah, it was neat.
There's only one guy in RoboDog, though.
Did you do you didn't do the whole thing.
Yeah, but there's only one guy here in the RoboDog.
Peter Weller shows up.
Yeah, he's like, hi, Jake.
I am the RoboDog.
Where's your room? We're sharing, right?
And then when he turns to leave, and he does his head first.
Right.
You have one of the most odd side projects I think I've ever come across. Rotna, which is...
Is it Rotna or Rotna?
Rotna.
Which, is that like... I found something that... Isn't that kind of a rework of a name of a river that's connected between Norway and Sweden?
Oh, that's funny. No, it just means like to rot.
To rot, okay.
Yeah, that's funny that you found that.
Viking music?
Yeah, basically that's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, there's a bunch of bands out there that actually do what's it? Wardruna's like one of the top ones that do like take traditional like Norwegian like Viking music basically and kind of modernize it, but still using traditional instruments. So I don't know. Like I just like I got onto this Viking kick like a year ago, and I was like, dude, this music's awesome. Like I gotta make this. And I was like, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out. I think I started actually watching Vikings the episode, and I was like, dude, I'm like really pumped up about this. So I was like, I'm gonna try it out. I'm just gonna try to make a song. I was like midnight when I was doing this because I just got done watching an episode. Next thing I know, it's like 4 a.m.
And there was already a folder on your desktop full of stuff.
Well, basically, yeah. I did 2 tracks that night. Yeah. I think I would have because again, this goes back to like using new instruments that I've never used before, or new VSTs, and learning how to play them, and because I'm working with drum sounds, like big tribal drums, and you have to like the way you hit the keys, you have to hit them a certain way to make them sound realistic, you know. So, because like when you have a group of drummers, like they're trying to hit at the same time, but there's always a little delay with someone else, so you get like a louder sound. Just little things like that, and me like screaming in a microphone, doing weird stuff, and so I had these songs, and I'm like, wow, it'd be really cool to like have like someone that speaks Norwegian, and have them like have the story of this guy named Rot that's from like the pits of hell or whatever, and he's like come to Earth and to like take over and just spread rot, you know, over the world. And so I was like, hey, Facebook, does any of my friends know anybody that speaks Norwegian? And someone came up and like, yeah, I actually know a guy. And he's actually from Norway, he lives in America, and he teaches English. So he's like perfect translator, you know. So he's like, okay, yeah. And he's a metal guy, and he does his own music too. And so he had a recording studio all set up for like microphones and everything. And
his voice sounded like this.
I did pitch his voice down a little,
Yeah.
but overall he did a phenomenal job. And I kind of edited it, cut it up, so there's spacing and how I wanted it to lay down, and it just worked out. And then I have another friend, like I had a longer song that was almost like a 10-minute track, and I needed I knew he spoke different languages, like he knew a little of each language and like really odd languages, and so I called him up, and him and his buddy like within like a half an hour just whipped something up on this track. John Muscle, the guy that helped us do the volumes.
Grooveworthy.
Yeah, Grooveworthy. Yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, I love this stuff, because he likes to like LARP and go out into the wilderness and like, you know, become that character. He's like, I love this music. Like, let me help you. And he does like the deep throat, like, you know, throat singing. Like,
Right.
I can't do it, but he did that. He whipped something out like in a couple days. So like within like a month, really, it all came together. Artwork, you know, everything. So, and then that was another thing too. So I was watching Vikings, and then I was also playing Hellblade.
I wasn't gonna mention Hellblade. I was gonna joke, and I was like, he was playing a lot of Hellblade.
Yes, Sinuous Sacrifice, dude. That game I love. That was like my favorite game.
It's
of
still like
2017.
$40 on the store.
I still haven't played it. Is it worth the buy?
I think it is. It's my favorite
If
game.
you
of
have time,
2017.
I think, right? Like,
It's only like 6 hours.
yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But give it a good 6 hours. Don't be like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll play it for 40 minutes here, then walk away.
Yeah,
You
it's
wanna-
definitely-
Dude, that's all I've been doing all summer. I've had so many games. I think I plowed through like 14 games this year that I haven't
Yeah.
finished yet, and I still have like 10 more. So
It's
Yeah.
one of those games like where, okay, I love video games, but there's certain games that are very emotional, and that was one of the very rare ones that there's a scene that almost like put tears to my eyes, because it was so beautifully done and so like heart-wrenching, like breaking, that it was just like the way it just like the colors, the voice, like the way it's like the looks, just beautiful. Yeah, definitely play it. If you can find it on sale too every now and then. Like Steam had their big sale not too long ago. It was like
I'm a
$10.
console peasant, unfortunately.
Oh well, it came out on the PlayStation.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, so it was just a lot of inspiration of that. And actually, after Rotna was released, I actually sent them an email. Ninja Theory was the developers of the game. I'm like, hey guys, you know, I just want to let you know you're a huge inspiration of my music. I just wanted you to have this, you know. And I got an email reply back saying, you know, it's like the PR department saying, hey, thanks so much. You know, we enjoy your kind words. You know, I'll forward your album to the sound guys. And that's all that I heard from them. But it was just kind of cool to get like a reply back from them.
Last question for both of you. What's the one thing about modern soundtracks that bothers you the most?
They're not memorable at all.
Yeah.
Can you remember any of the melodies from any of the Marvel films?
No, I can remember like the but no.
Yeah,
none of that,
see what
no.
I mean? But now think about Tim Burton's Batman. Boom! Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Boom! Booyah! Yeah.
Drops mic.
Zippity zippity zap zap. Right? I'm not saying the Marvel movies aren't good. They're fine, but their soundtracks are non-memorable at all.
I mean, everything about those movies is the same. The story, the music, everything. It's all the same.
Yeah, but yeah, it's got to be that they're not memorable.
They're following a formula.
They're following the formula. Like,
yeah.
And it's I read this thing about how they edit to current music, to the same, like 50 songs, and then they have the composers. Okay, so it's already matching this tempo and has this, and so the composers are writing music that will fit something that already fits another song. So composers are continually rewriting the same song over and over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, you find. I mean, if you look at all like I love Hans Zimmer, but like if you look at the structures of it and certain chords, he's reusing the chords, and it's because what Hollywood wants, and it works. Christopher Nolan, he's one of those guys that he's Hollywood but not at the same time. You know what I mean? He's big enough that he's in Hollywood, but he's also big enough that he can kind of do what he wants at the same time. Because if you look at Nolan films, like they are cinematic and they're big, but they're different. They're not Avengers.
Doesn't he just
Marvel,
send Trent Reznor an email?
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I need music for this now.
He's like, yeah.
Oh, what's it called? Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah. It's like,
okay.
Cool. I was gonna have this B-side album.
Yeah.
But you can have it.
What's it called? Oh, the Social Network. Okay, I'll just send it over.
Right. I don't know, but like, there's certain things like, I mean, formulas are good too, because like, if you look at Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer, they've worked with each other so many times, and they just work.
Wait, am I getting that wrong? Not Christopher Nolan's not.
No, it's David Fincher.
David Fincher, my bad. I'm looking like a fucking noob. Thanks for correcting me on that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. You're right. David Fincher is the guy that uses Trent Reznor in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good too. They both work hand in hand.
And who's the guy that did Pi in Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, Aronofsky uses Clint Mansell.
Yeah.
From PWEI.
Like, and if you look at them, but with them, like, each movie is different. Like, Darren Aronofsky, like, until he did Noah, like, that film. Like,
what the fuck was that about?
I don't know, man.
They're like, we need to get rid of $500 million now.
Basically, yeah. That's what it felt like, right? Yeah. But if you look at Pi, you look at Requiem for a Dream.
Pi is totally like
yeah.
Like
it's
really
like
fast going.
Yeah.
And then Requiem's all morose and slow and
stuff. They
stuff.
brought Kronos Quartet. The strings quartet people. So, but you also had Clint Mansell too. But like they just again those formulas they work together, but what I appreciate about Aronofsky's films, like back in the day, where they were different, it was his style, but they were different, it wasn't your average, Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4, superhero movie, and like there's something to be said about superhero movies too, there's enjoyment, there's entertainment, obviously they make money, because people love them. There's a place and time for everything, but it gets monotonous.
There has to be some end sometime somewhere.
Yeah, like I was going to okay, I want to get into it. Like it kind of reminds me of this. Like, okay, so I started watching like the comic book hero movies, back in the 90s, And then it got to the point where
Spawn. You say Spawn. It's cool.
Yeah, Spawn. Yeah. And then they started branching out to other ones. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm trying. Then it just became it was like a Dragon Ball Z effect. It reminds me we used to have, where I lived in California, we had Salzer's Video, and it was the only video store in town and that would have all the Dragon Ball Zs, and they were all on VHSs because that's all it was at the time. There was no DVDs at the time, and each tape only had 2 episodes because that's how they
still do that now.
And they still do that now because of money, But so now I'm looking. I want to get into Dragon Ball Z. Where do I start? I'm not gonna rent all of these. That's ridiculous because it literally took up almost a whole wall. It's and that's how I feel with comic book movies. So I'm I don't want to start into this.
Are they up to 19 with the last one?
Oh my god!
You're in the MCU?
Yeah, I think that the last one, the last Avengers, was number 19.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Sick, bruh. I have to get going.
That was the last
Oh,
question.
okay.
Any last words? I know you guys have anything.
Oh,
Say.
that's it.
Oh yeah.
You're listening to.
Do we have anything?
I don't know.
Do we want to talk? We want to talk Dream Warriors.
Dream
I guess-
Warriors.
Yeah. So Dream Warriors, not the Warriors. I love that shirt. Yeah. Dream Warriors. We did a tour. Was it last year or this year?
It was last year.
It was last year. Yeah.
Last October.
With Nigel and Albert, and was it only us? Well, no. Future Holotape was. They did a show with us the first day.
They did.
That was-
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just like a mini tour. So we're looking to do Dream Warriors 2 tour, and what is it? San Diego, Ventura.
I think it was. We're aiming for Seattle, somewhere in Oregon.
Probably Portland or
Probably
Eugene.
Portland or Eugene. Those are my two picks. Portland and Eugene. San Francisco or Bay Area.
Mhm.
Then definitely Ventura, Los Angeles, San Diego.
Yeah. So it's just a tour of us crazy guys.
Wacky dudes.
Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it too. It's a lot
Exactly.
of fun.